The Savage Nation, Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow live from Washington, D.C. And in the meantime, before, during, and after this show, go to michaelsavage.com for all your latest headlines. And there you will see pictures of Dr. Savage's trip to D.C., and you could read his thoughts as well. He met with President Trump. There's a great picture of the two of them standing side by side. He attended the luncheon yesterday with Emmanuel Macron in the White House. Beautiful pictures that Dr. Savage has taken himself from within the luncheon, and it's all there on michaelsavage.com. I'll tell you what, it's great to be in for Dr. Savage today. I always love being here with you guys at the Savage Nation family. But I have to say, I'm a little jealous. I'd love to be in D.C. with Dr. Savage, hanging with the president and Emmanuel Macron and attending that luncheon yesterday. But we do have work to do, and we invite you into the conversation at 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Well, all the pomp and circumstance is over right now. We had the luncheon yesterday, the aforementioned luncheon, the state dinner yesterday, the elegance of our First Lady, Melania Trump, and now her hat, which is causing controversy because everybody wants to hate Donald Trump. By extension, they don't like his wife. Do you realize she has not been on the cover of one fashion magazine since becoming First Lady? And Michelle Obama was on the cover of like 20 or something within the first year. Just bias, sour grapes, if you will. But I was proud that she was our First Lady yesterday. She looked great on the lawn in the black outfit. She looked stunning with the white outfit and the hat for the luncheon. And then last night, I'm no fashion horse, but in her Chanel, she made me proud. And probably, and this is not a knock on any other First Lady, but she's probably the best First Lady we have had. Smart, elegant, and shy, which is the most appealing part of it all. But that's all over now. Now comes the nuts and the bolts. And they're going to sit down. Emmanuel Macron will sit down with Donald Trump, and they seem to be forming, I don't like this word, but I'll use it because it's the one the press is using, the bromance. They definitely have a mutual affection for one another. These two guys like each other. They've honored each other, the history of our two countries, a little tumultuous at times during the 1980s when the French were not exactly helping us out with the situation in Libya. But, you know, even families have fights, even friends have fights. But now, on the table, Syria, trade tariffs and how it's going to affect the European Union, the Paris Accord and climate change, and the centerpiece of it all, Iran and the nuclear deal that's going on there. How will it all shake out? They're working together. They're friends. Emmanuel Macron spoke in front of Congress today, a historic speech right up there with Benjamin Netanyahu's last year. But what is going to happen? What concessions can Donald Trump make? What concessions should Donald Trump make? Should Donald Trump get out of the Iran deal or renegotiate it to appease our allies? And will Trump cave and re-enter the Paris Accord, the climate change agreement? Remember, that's the one that we were going to pay all the freight for. It's going to cost us like $1 trillion or so, hundreds of millions of dollars. I forget it, hundreds of billions. I forget the numbers. I'm sorry. But it was high. And we were going to bear the burden of most of that expense. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Now, here's where I look at it. On Syria, Donald Trump can give some concessions there. He's already bombed them twice and put them out of the chemical making business for at least a couple of years. The message has been received there to Assad, but more importantly, the message has been received in Russia to Putin and in China to Xiaoping. Those are the two major supporters of Syria. So he can back off on Syria a little bit. He can give some concessions there. The only problem is Emmanuel Macron is in favor of him going after Syria very aggressively. So there might be some difference there, but that's a hurdle that they can get over. On trade, the issue of trade is important to Emmanuel Macron because under Trump, the EU now is going to be facing increased tariffs. He does not want that. So now Trump has got to find, is he going to waver a little bit? Will he reduce that a little bit in order to keep this friendship alive, keep it moving? I think there's some flexibility there, but he's campaigned so hard on how trade wars, not trade wars, but trade deficits between us and other countries are never in our favor. It's always a deficit. So whether it's Mexico, whether it's China, whether it's France, so he's got some wiggle room there. He can come down in the tariffs that they're going to have to pay, and we could still be ahead. The good news there is for him is that we are so far behind. He has a lot of wiggle room there because they really do take advantage. Paris Accord, not an option. That's an Obama deal. That's one where the American taxpayers have been really getting royally shafted over that. So when he pulled out, that was a good thing. Do you need any more information except to say that Hillary Clinton was going to be in favor of it? All of the lefties in the country were going to be in favor of it. The key is, and in reference to trade, if I can digress a second, he's also meeting with Tim Cook, the president is. Okay, that says a lot, that Tim Cook, a devout leftist, is a businessman and a capitalist first. How will they get along? What type of business is two businessmen now sitting down? Let's see. Tim Cook has been skirting taxes to the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars, hiding the money legally, I want to point out, Ireland, and then also in the Channel Island of Jersey, billions of dollars. So what's going to happen with that? So a lot of business talk, all right? But then the politics, the aforementioned Syria, Paris Accord, but Iran. Iran is the centerpiece here. What's he going to do with Obama's disastrous deal that he made with the Iranians? $150 billion plus of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars going to the number one state sponsor of terrorism. A deal that President Trump has criticized throughout the campaign. Aggressively has criticized it throughout the campaign. And what's he going to do? Listen, this is what he just said, and I quote, "This is a deal with decayed foundations. It's a bad deal. It's a bad structure and should have never, ever been made. If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid." Excuse me. If you back off from that statement and everything that he has said, then you might as well throw the Iran deal and the promises of getting rid of it on the scrap heap of history along with our border wall, which we don't have and hopefully will. But right now it's not looking like we're going to have it. So he has to be tough. There's leeway with trade. There's leeway with Syria. There's no leeway with the Paris Accord. And there is no leeway with the Iran deal, in my opinion. Look at it this way. If President Trump can squelch the Iran deal, and in a month or so, whenever they meet, he sits down with Kim Jong-un and gets Un to then give up his pursuit of nuclear weapons, or at least, downplay the testing of them and so on and so forth, he's going to be king. Okay? I know the left doesn't like that word king, which is exactly why I used it. He's going to be the belle of the ball. It'll be interesting to watch the fake news outlets like CNN and MSNBC to see how they try to spin it. He got us out of the Iran deal, which we all agree is a bad deal. Remember, $150 billion of your taxpayer money. And then on top of that, it was between 4 and 7 billion. Let's say 4. I don't want to over guesstimate here. $4 billion in cash. Cash. What is this, a gangster? Obama gave them $4 billion in cash when we got the hostages back. One of them took a picture of skids and skids and skids of cash. It's incredible. American greenbacks, Benjamins, cash going to the number one state sponsor of terror. Will we get a refund? I doubt it. There's going to be no information counter for this. $150+ billion will be lost. But then we can have our way with Iran. And listen, I think, in my opinion, based on reports that come, I don't think they're honoring the nuclear agreement anyway. They took the money and ran. They play John Kerry and Barack Obama for the fools that they are. And this deal expires in 2023 anyway. The problem is this. Emmanuel Macron, his friendship with Donald Trump, he is in favor of the Iran deal staying where it is. Therein lies the problem. This is where the concessions that might come in could be a problem. Because aside from France, you have Russia, you have China, you have Germany, and you have Great Britain involved. All have said they want to preserve the Iranian deal. I think it's a bad deal. I agree with our president that it needs to go away. I'd like to know what you think on that. Should Donald Trump get out of the Iran deal or renegotiate to appease our allies? And it's there, so it has to be addressed. The Paris Accord, climate agreement. Will Trump cave and re-enter it, costing us endless amounts of dollars? So what concessions can he make? What concessions should he make? 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to the Savage Nation. And remember, Dr. Savage will be back tomorrow live from Washington, D.C. He's going to have a million great stories to tell you. I'm not going to steal his thunder and share them with you here. He's going to have a lot of great stories. It is going to be a show you cannot miss. And in the meantime, check out the pictures of his sojourn and the adventure that he's having there. Go to michaelsavage.com, get your headlines, check out the pictures. You'll see a picture of Dr. Savage with President Trump. You are listening to The Savage Nation. It's The Savage Nation. Lou Pate sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. In the meantime, go to michaelsavage.com for all the latest headlines and to see Dr. Savage's pictures and read his thoughts on his trip as he makes his way through D.C. There's a great picture there of Dr. Savage and Donald Trump on the website there, michaelsavage.com. Now, we're talking about the real red meat of this, what goes on now. As I said, there's been a lot of fanfare, a lot of handshaking, a lot of kissing, a lot of photo ops with the wives. But now is where really Trump's negotiating skills come in handy, and how you are affected, because we're talking about your money. And in the case of Syria, we're talking about U.S. soldiers. You know, how much more of a commitment will there be there? I mentioned Iran being the centerpiece of it. There's wiggle room with Syria, wiggle room with trade, but there's no wiggle room, in my opinion, with the Iran deal. But if you feel we should stay in the Iran deal, I want to hear from you as well. 855-400-SAVAGE. There is something coming out of Iran. The supreme leader there, Rouhani, is taking shots at Donald Trump, dismissing him as a tradesman. Okay, he attacked him just earlier today about the discussions going on with Macron and with other leaders over Tehran's nuclear agreement, and dismissed Donald Trump as the aforementioned tradesman. This means he's scared. This means he's at the very least concerned. He knows Donald Trump is not Hillary Clinton. He knows Donald Trump is not Barack Obama. He saw that he pulled him out of the Paris Accord. He's heard the campaign speeches where he said that it's a bad deal. He said it yesterday with Macron standing right at his side. And he also talked about Iran because they've been shooting off their mouth. He also said, as I said before, and I quote, "If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid." That is a strong statement. That is a bold statement. And that is something that he said in front of the international press. It is something that he said with an ally standing to his right. Believe me, Rouhani in Iran is not happy right now. But I don't trust him. I think he took our money and he ran, as I said in the last segment, made a fool of both John Kerry and Barack Obama. The question is now, what is Trump going to do? What do you think he should do? Should Trump get out of the Iran deal or renegotiate it to make peace or keep our allies appeased? Remember, there's a lot of different countries involved in that as well. Not only France, as I mentioned, China, Russia, Germany, Britain. They all have a say in this. You got to deal with Angela Merkel, you got to deal with Putin, got to deal with Xi Jinping. But here's the deal. Trump has to do what's right for us, not what's right for his allies. If he caves on this Iran deal, it's going to take away any international panache that he has so far. It's going to make him look weak going into the North Korea deal. As far as will Trump cave and re-enter the climate agreement, the Paris Accord, well, I don't think he has any wiggle room on that, but I don't think many people care about that, except for the Berkeley tree-hugging liberals that are out there and the ones that want to hate Trump for pulling out of it. The only reason and the only way that affects you, the listeners to the Savage Nation, is money. Okay? Your air is not going to change. The climate is not going to change. Climate change, in my humble opinion, is a fraud. It's a way for people to make money by selling fear, and there's really no one who can convince me different. All of the scientists involved in climate change have been caught falsifying data. Why? NOAA was caught falsifying data just this year alone. So think about it. Just go online and Google it, and you can see how much these guys have falsified their data. Your phone calls, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282, coming up. Should Trump get out of the Iran deal or renegotiate to appease our allies? What concessions can or should he make? You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
The Iranians say they'll restart their nuclear program if the deal.
We'll find out. You'll find out about that. It won't be so easy for them to restart.
Mr. President,
They're not going to be restarting anything. They restart it, they're going to have big problems, bigger than they've ever had before. And you can mark it down. They restart their nuclear program, they will have bigger problems than they have ever had before.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow live from D.C., Must Listening Radio. And if you go to michaelsavage.com, not only can you get your latest headlines, you can also see Dr. Savage's latest pictures and read his thoughts on his trip to D.C. But he's going to have amazing stories to tell. And if you go to michaelsavage.com, you'll see a picture there with him and President Trump. So 855-400-SAVAGE, talking about negotiating moving forward with Macron and Russia and Germany and France and Great Britain. As I said, there is, in my opinion, no wiggle room on Iran. That nuclear deal must go. The Paris Accord must remain. America out. Some wiggle room on trade, some wiggle room on Syria, but however, pertaining to trade, Donald Trump did say that the EU's trade barriers are, and I quote, unacceptable. We'll play some audio for that a little later, but let's right now get to your phones. Willie, WJCW, Tennessee, welcome to the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
And thanks for calling.
Hey,
how can I help?
No concessions, no waffling, no back up. Hold your ground. That's all I've got to say.
But let me ask you a follow-up question, Willie. If he does cave a little bit, if he does want to, let's just say, renegotiate the Iran deal to appease our allies, will you sour on him, or does it depend on what the deal is, or is it all or nothing? For me, it's all or nothing. They cannot be trusted.
No, we can't. We can't go for a peace. But look, if we had asked the world if it was a good idea to throw the tea in Boston Harbor, most of the world would have said, "Boy, you better watch out. You're going to get in trouble with the king."
Yeah, and I don't think Harry Truman made a bunch of calls before dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which led to the end of World War II. I just think he, as he said to Harry Truman, the buck stops here.
Exactly right. I mean, hey, look, it's time that we stood up and got the respect that we deserve. We've never been the aggressor. We just try to make this a peaceful world to live in, and we're not going to do that by just trying to go along to get along, so to speak.
All right. Well, I'm with you, Willie. Thank you very much for your call. Do appreciate you listening. Let's go online to Frank. Frank, welcome to the Savage Nation. Frank, by which means are you listening to the Savage Nation?
I'm not 100% sure right now because I'm traveling, and normally in Cleveland, that's where I'm from, I have to dial into a number it's a phone number that I have to dial into and press a button. I press number 1 and I get to listen
All
to
right.
it. So it's right now,
I got it.
I get
All right, so you're listening online. Where do you stand on all of this?
Well, first of all, thanks for taking my call. Second
Thanks
of all,
for calling.
I want to say that Trump is a great leader. I'm really, really so thrilled that he's in the White House, and I stand on the fact of what you said. There is no waffling from this. That was a horrible deal. Obama and John Kerry, is a joke that it was ever even made. And you know what? We're the United States, and we're finally acting like it again. We're not the aggressor, as that first gentleman said before on the phone. We always try to make it a peaceful world, but we're going to stand up for ourselves, and we're going to do what's right. If he does make some concessions, I'll trust his judgment to make sure that he's doing it the right way. I understand sometimes it can't be all or nothing, and he may try to do the right thing to try to keep a little bit of peace. I'd rather see him completely walk away from it and again, start completely over. I'm hoping that he'll do that. As far as the Paris thing, that's just a bunch of bunk, and we should have no part of it. That's just nothing but a money grab for a bunch of people, and it's going to be on our backs, and I think everybody's tired of it. So I just want to say I give 5 stars to Donald Trump. He's the best. And as far as Melania, she is a beautiful first lady and dignity. I love it.
At class and dignity, and let me tell you something. She's even smarter than she is beautiful. She speaks 5 languages, and I like to think that when she addressed Brigitte Macron yesterday, I can almost guarantee, Frank, that she did it in French to show respect. But hey, thank you very much, and you travel safe. Now, I'm asking you, what should he do on the Iran deal? Should he get out of it, or should he renegotiate to appease our allies? But who elected him? Russia didn't elect him. China didn't elect him. Germany didn't elect him, nor did Britain or France. How's about appeasing we, the American people? That's what I say. Now, before we get back to the calls at 855-400-SAVAGE, Clinton, Jim, can we play clip number 8? This is Trump talking about the tariffs and the European Union.
The president and I working on trade. The trade with France is complicated because we have the European Union. I would rather deal just with France. The Union is very tough for us. They have trade barriers that are unacceptable. Our farmers can't send their product into the European Union easily as they should, and we accept their product, so we have to make a change. But it's been very unfair for a long time. We had a trade deficit with the European Union of $151 billion last year. That's unacceptable. This has been going on for many years, and that's unacceptable.
So is he backing himself into a corner by saying unacceptable? But no, when you have a deficit in the billions like that, he does have some wiggle room. Anything he comes out on the plus side is acceptable. So again, wiggle room on Syria, wiggle room on trade, no wiggle room on Iran, in my opinion. And what is your opinion? Let's go to New York City, WABC. Frank, welcome to the Savage Nation. Thank you for calling. How are you?
Yeah, how are you? I believe that Donald Trump should think several times about negotiating a deal with Iran, because there's a good history of Iran being very dirty in their negotiations, starting with Jimmy Carter and then making Barack Obama deal secret negotiations with banks like undercover Drug Enforcement Administration agent, loosening bags to keep the peace worldwide.
Let me ask you this: when it comes to Iran, it's not about dealing with them. It's just about ending the deal that I don't think they're following anyway. They're going to have nukes by 2023 or 2025. They already have the money. It's not like they're going to reimburse us for the 150 plus billion. The problem here is, like I said, France with Macron, who's now with Trump as we speak, and Britain and Germany, Russia and China, they want the deal to remain. I don't know why, because it's a bad deal all around, and they should really come on our side and see Iran for the terrorists that they are. But for some reason, they're supporting the deal. I don't know why. All right, thank you very much. Do appreciate your call from WABC. Let's go a little north of the city. Let's go to WDRC in Connecticut. Dave, you are on the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
Thank you, Lou, for taking my call. I don't think that we should abrogate the treaty with Iran, nor do I think we should be in the Middle East, policing the whole Middle East the way we are with our Fifth Fleet and everything.
Well, with that, we have to because we have our ally Israel, and we can't just abandon Israel.
Well, Israel is a big country. They have the second largest air force in the world. They could take on Britain, France. They could beat up all the NATO countries if we wanted, if we allowed them to. They're a very, very powerful country. They have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, but when it comes to a fight, I am glad that Israel is on our side. But they are strong, as you say. You are correct, Dave. But they are surrounded. You look at Israel; they're this little postage stamp, and they are surrounded by nations that hate them. And it's our ally, and it's a significant region in the world globally, politically, for a number of different reasons, and we just cannot leave them alone there. Even though they can probably handle themselves, it's a much better region when you have the United States backing Israel, and even better with the United States Embassy in Jerusalem.
If they're so important to us, we should make them a state like we did Hawaii.
I don't think they want to become a state, but I understand what you're saying. They're better off not being a state. They'll have to pay all of our crazy taxes.
Well, I'm not laughing at that. I'm not laughing at that because we already give them $8 billion a year in aid.
Right.
And frankly, like Michael says, they're a big country now. When are we going to cut the aid off from them?
The aid, I'll tell you what, the aid, Dave, is something that I am in favor of reducing and or eliminating. We also give over $1 billion a year to the Palestinians, so I don't know why we're funding this conflict between the two, to be quite honest with you. We basically paid for a wall between the Palestinian territory and Israel, yet we don't have money for a wall of our own. That can't be. No, we have to put our own. I'm 100% in support of Israel, but we have to put America's priorities ahead of Israel.
Well, when do we ever do that? We don't do that.
Never.
You're talking about that $150 billion to Iran. That was their money. That was Iranian money. So why are you always saying that we gave them that money? That was not our money. That was their money.
How is it their money?
We impounded that money after the Shah lost, after the Shah was overthrown.
Yeah, that was 40. That was 40 years before, and that's dressing it up. If you want to get technical, but no, that was American tax-paying greenbacks that went to them.
That was their money, though. That was their money.
We can go back and forth all day. You say theirs, I say no. But at the end of the day, Obama paid them with American taxpayer dollars. All right, thank you for your call. Tell you what, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get straight back to your calls, talking about the issue of Macron, talking with Trump. What is going to be the end result? Should Donald Trump get out of the Iran deal or renegotiate it to appease our allies? And what about the Paris climate deal? You thought we were out of it? It's on the table. No wavering on that as well. 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage. Will be back tomorrow live from D.C. You're not going to want to miss it. He's going to have a lot of great stories to tell you about his sojourn and his adventures there. But in the meantime, you can get a jump on it. When you're checking out your headlines at michaelsavage.com, check out Dr. Savage's pictures, and he also has written about his thoughts on the trip, and a cool picture of him with President Trump. I have to say, I'm a little jealous. You're listening to The Savage Nation.
Isolationism, withdrawal, and nationalism. This is an option. It can be tempting to us as a temporary remedy to our fears. But closing the door to the word will not stop the evolution of the word. It will not douse but inflame the fears of our citizens. We have to keep our eyes wide open to the new risks right in front of us.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. That is the voice of Emmanuel Macron talking earlier today. He's making the rounds with Donald Trump, a lot of pomp and circumstance, but we're talking about where does it go from here? Here's where the rubber meets the road. What's going to happen with Iran? Donald Trump campaigned on what a bad deal it is, and I agree with him on that. The Iran deal must be eliminated. Okay, it's as simple as that. No room for wavering, no room for appeasement, no crinkling it up and throwing it out and rewriting it to appease China and Russia and France and Britain and Germany. No, off the table. Now, what concessions can Donald Trump make? Well, as I said, there's some areas of trade. Our trade deficits are in the hundreds of billions with each country. Europe alone, 150 billion. So any money that he brings home there is going to be appreciated, and it'll be a victory. It would be better if it was all even. They tax us on what we tax them. Maybe you make some changes per capita for expenses, things of that. It's going to be more expensive for this country or that country, unions, the whole 9 yards, but make it fair, make it even. But what everybody's looking at is, number one is going to be Iran, and number two, the trade issue, because people care about how we look in the world, how we appear. Are we strong or are we weak? And also, heading into his meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump cannot waver. If he gives up even an inch on the Iran deal, he is then lessening himself. He's going into the meeting, this historic meeting with Kim Jong-un, weaker than when the meeting was scheduled. And Un will know that, and the world will know that. Saying, wow, he's been shooting off his mouth about Iran for a long time, and he's been threatening Iran, strong words against Iran, most recently at the White House on Tuesday with Emmanuel Macron right to his side. This is why Donald Trump cannot waver on the Iran deal. Okay? That deal has to go away. Why? It's not good for America. It's not good for the world. And it was a shoddy deal on the part of John Kerry. And it was a weak deal on the part of Barack Obama. Obama makes these deals that no one can tell me the benefit to America. And in this case, no one could look at it and say, what's the benefit to the world? It's not like Iran has learned from their mistakes of the Ayatollah from 1979 all the way through 2018. No, they've only dug in their heels. They're seeking nuclear weapons. They are the number one state sponsor of terror. And if they do acquire nuclear weapons, if they do reach that point, I have no hesitation that they will use them, probably on Israel. But remember, Ahmadinejad used to say he wanted to erase Israel from the map. So, no, this deal must go away. Donald Trump is cleaning up Bill Clinton's messes in North Korea. He's cleaning up Obama and Kerry's messes in Iran. We'll see which way it goes. You know how I feel. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow live from Washington, D.C. And if you go to michaelsavage.com while you're there getting your latest headlines, you can see Dr. Savage's pictures and thoughts on his trip. You can see him in the Oval Office with President Trump, and you could see a lot of other pictures there as well, the breakfast, the luncheons, all of the functions. He will share his stories tomorrow right here on the Savage Nation. In the meantime, we'll continue discussing the issue of Iran. That topic will remain on the table at 855-400-SAVAGE. And should the president throw out the Iran deal, or should he seek to appease our allies and have it rewritten, or stick with it? But anything pertaining to Trump pertains to the media as well. And what we have going on here now is journalism is seemingly dead. The news is dead. Journalists are acting more like advocates. And when it comes to news issues, for example, today we have the Supreme Court hearing the story, the case of Donald Trump's travel ban. Okay, that was thrown out in one of the district courts, and now it is back in front of the Supreme Court. As we speak, the Supreme Court is hearing the case. And what will happen? Well, that remains to be seen. How it's presented, the merits, we'll get that in June. But the media doesn't report it like I just said to you. The travel ban being heard and weighed by the Supreme Court today. What will be their decision? We'll know in June. That's really the whole story right there. But what the media does is, because it's something Donald Trump wants, they're immediately against the travel ban. If it's something that is going to be beneficial for you and your family, if it is something that helps with national security, okay, they're against it. You have CNN White House correspondent Jim Acosta, okay? He says he fears that Donald Trump's fake news slams on the media are going to get a journalist physically hurt by one or more of his supporters. Now, Jim Acosta is no longer a journalist. Number one, he's a hack. Number two, he's an advocate for Obama. He's an advocate for all things left. Worse than all of that combined, Jim Acosta wants to be famous. He wants to be the story. He wants to be a celebrity. He wants the story to be about him, which is the number one faux pas of any journalist. Report the news, get the news, dig for the news. Don't be the news. But it's a little, I take a personal affront with him saying that Obama supporters, for which I am one, are going to physically hurt a journalist. Are you kidding me? What about Schumer and Pelosi saying the tax bill and net neutrality are going to get people killed? And then shortly after that, Congressman Scalise is mowed down by a crazy leftist, shot while practicing for a charity baseball game. 3 other people were shot that day, too. Nobody ever talks about it. I remember being here on the Savage Nation just 2 weeks outside of that shooting of Representative Scalise and the other 3, which, by the way, they were saved by 2 brave D.C. police officers who were on the scene. If not for them, they could have all been killed and many more would have been shot. Not 2 weeks after that shooting by a crazed leftist, I sat in here on the Savage Nation for Dr. Savage, and it was nowhere in the news. It was not on CNN. It was not on MSNBC, any of our dying newspapers across the country. It was nowhere to be found. Yet, they have the nerve to say that it is Trump supporters who are going to be the violent ones. Are they kidding me? Before we get back to the phones, I want to play this clip. This is from Jim Acosta. Clint and Jim, please, clip number 17.
People around the country don't know it's an act. They're not in on the act, and they take what he says very seriously, and they take attacks from Sean Spicer and Sarah Sanders and what they do to us on a daily basis very seriously. They don't have all their faculties in some cases. Their elevator might not hit all floors. My concern is that that a journalist is going to be hurt one of these days. Somebody's going to get hurt. And at that point, you know, the White House, the President of the United States, they're going to have to take a hard look in the mirror and ask themselves whether or not they played a role in this, whether they created this toxic environment that resulted in a journalist getting hurt. And the moment that a journalist gets hurt in the United States of America because of rhetoric coming from the President of the United States, we have suddenly become something less than the United States. We are starting to join at that moment a different group of countries around the world where the press is not safe. And I hope and I'd like to see the White House and the President pay more attention to that.
That is 100% fabrication. It is 100% made up. It is 100%, if I may, fake news. Nowhere in that rambling statement of 63 seconds did you hear Jim Acosta give an example. Well, I'm going to cite, as I said, the shooting of Scalise and 3 others. I'm going to cite the Antifa riots that have been numerous, destruction, fires. I challenge anybody out there in the Savage Nation or otherwise to provide me with one example of right-wing extremism aimed at journalism, because it's always the left-wing extremists who are the violent ones. It is always the anarchists who are always pulling out guns, clubs, Molotov cocktails, whether it's the WTO meeting in Seattle, as they did years ago, and the riots that followed that, to all the anarchists. It's always left-wing anarchists. If there was, cite me one example of Donald Trump saying anything that could even be misconstrued as saying that something that would lead towards violence towards a journalism. It's a joke. And Acosta's a joke. Not as much of a joke as Chris Cuomo, but a joke as well. And CNN and their ratings are a joke. Why? Because Acosta is giving interviews to places like Variety. That's where that's from. He wants to be the celebrity. Quite frankly, I think he has Trump envy. So we have that. I'd like to know from you, you are the listeners to the Savage Nation. Are there any more journalists, or are they just all advocates? Actually, left-wing propagandists might be better, okay? And I used it as an example, the Supreme Court. It is the travel ban. I used it as an example of media bias and how they're reported from the moment the first travel ban came out and the world freaked out. The media reported it as something bad. It's actually something very good for America, keeping people who come from nations that are Sharia-loving, Muslim fundamentalist, terrorist nation breeders out of our country. We've got enough of our own nuts in the country. We had the Waffle House shooting just over the weekend. We've got enough of our own problems. We've got school shootings. We don't need any more Muslim fundamentalist terrorists coming into the country. And another thing that the corrupt left-wing media will never admit, that out of the countries that are listed on the travel ban, they don't tell you how Christians are persecuted there, how churches are burned down on a regular basis. Iran, Syria, Somalia, Libya, Yemen. And the ban also blocks some places, North Korea and some Venezuelan government officials. They'll never talk to you. They'll never report about people who share your beliefs, your symbolism, your traditions, how they are murdered constantly in the Middle East simply because they are Christians. It's appalling. And we want to stop these people from coming into our country. Now, if someone does not have a criminal record, there's nothing that you can do. But if someone they're on a terrorist watch list, if they have any type of affiliation with terrorism, the travel ban needs to go in, and they need to be on it and not make it into the country. Look at the Bataclan Ballroom. Look at the massacre there while the Eagles of Death Metal were on the stage. Look at what went on in Brussels, a multifaceted attack there. One of the terrorists who was too chicken to kill himself just got sentenced to 20 years. Ariana Grande concert, Nice, the Christmas market attack in Berlin. Both the latter two were done with trucks. These are all Muslim fundamentalist terrorists who would love to be in this country. Remember when Barack Obama wouldn't even say that word? So we have it all on the table. Should Trump get out of the Iran deal or renegotiate? Same for the climate agreement. Should he get back in on that? And what will happen if he does? Will you lose faith in him? The travel ban. Will the Supreme Court side with Trump over the travel ban? And in the same vein, where the journalists are against everything and anything Trump, left-wing propagandists that they are, no longer journalists, are there any more journalists, or are they just advocates? Let's go out to San Francisco. Dr. Savage's flagship there, KSFO. Michael, welcome to the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, Michael, what's up? To Montana, Larry, KYYA. Welcome to the Savage Nation. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. We finally got a little spring in Montana.
Spring has sprung. A little late this year, but better late than never.
The Iran deal. Barack Obama wanted his legacy to be the deal with Iran, and he was willing to give away anything they wanted to get it. $150 billion, $4 billion in cash. You know how many truckloads of paper that is?
And I know how many plane loads it was, I'll tell you that.
And that paper went right into those jihadists' hands. They paid them in cash.
I know. We have pictures of it on the skids. 4 to 7 billion of it anyway.
Basically, Obama's paying those terrorists cash to terrorize us.
Terrorize us and terrorize the world. You say he wanted his legacy to be the Iran deal. Some say Obamacare. I think Obama wanted his legacy to be that he took America down a notch or two.
Oh, I agree. And I want to comment on the trade deals that this country's made. It started with NAFTA back in the 90s. And NAFTA, you could just about close down rural America. That was the start of the end of rural America. When NAFTA started, I'm a beef producer in Montana. We sold about the same amount of beef to Mexico that they sold us. You look it up. Mexico, we got a $1.8 billion trade deficit with Mexico for beef alone. Beef alone.
Amazing.
Now you tell me what kind of good deal that is.
Doesn't sound like a good deal at all, and it gets worse as you go down the line. So yeah, something has to be done there in our favor. I don't know why our leadership over the decades have really stuck it to us, so to speak, but that's exactly what they did. Larry, I got to run, but thank you for calling KYYA in Montana. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage. Go to michaelsavage.com for the latest headlines, and there's some really cool pictures there. Dr. Savage in the Oval Office, Dr. Savage with Donald Trump, Dr. Savage at the breakfast and luncheon with Emmanuel Macron. Oh, great stuff. We'll be back. Your questions here, your calls on the Savage Nation.
Newsmax says Killing the Deep State is the political book of the year. It's already a #1 bestseller. At bookstores everywhere, or get the free offer and save almost $30. Go online to killingthedeepstate.com, killingthedeepstate.com.
You can handle the truth. That's why you should attend Red Pill Expo in Spokane, Washington from June 21st through the 23rd. Red Pill Expo is the creation of legendary figure G. Edward Griffin, author of The Creature from Jekyll Island. We're exposing the lies of fake news and fake history. Leading experts will present on critical topics you need to know about. Go to redpillexpo.org and use the code word SAVAGE for an extra 15% discount. That's redpillexpo.org.
Now, more of the Savage Nation on Talk Radio 560, KSFO.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate sitting in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow live from D.C. And as I said before, he's got a lot of stories to tell. He's in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. You go to michaelsavage.com while you're checking your headlines before, during, and after the show. You can check out his pictures there and also his thoughts. And there was a great column written in the Washington Times about Dr. Savage hasn't been to Washington, D.C. in 3 decades. I was unaware of that. So, how the place has changed. He will tell you all tomorrow right here on the Savage Nation. In the meantime, give us a shout, 855-400-SAVAGE. Let's get back to the phones. WDRC, Connecticut. Dana, you're on the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
Hey, Lou, how's it going? I just wanted to say really quick, I'm kind of appalled at the lack of the ignorance in some of the callers when they say Iran is funding the jihadists. I mean, people have to understand, Iran are Shiites. They're fighting and killing the jihadists. All these people, like at the Bataclan Theater that you mentioned, 9/11, San Bernardino, those are all ISIS/Al-Qaeda, Sunni, Wahhabi, Saudi Arabia backed.
But Dana, one second. No one said they're funding the jihadi. No one even implied that Bataclan and San Bernardino and all of those were funded by the Iranians. Actually, no one said anything about funding except for me, and I just call them the number one state sponsor of terror. That's all. No one. What you're saying is factually incorrect. No one has said that.
Well, I just wanted to make that clear because, I mean, this is a civil war in the Middle East that we're getting involved in. And people should remember, if you're an Assyrian Christian or an Armenian Christian or even a Jew, you got a better place in Iran or under, say Assad, or Lebanon than you do in these Sunni places with ISIS, where they're literally cutting off people's heads.
There is the Sunni Shia thing for which you speak, but that is not what we're talking about. Now it says here the Iran deal. You told Team Savage the Iran deal is one of the only good things Obama did. How is it good for us and good for the world?
Okay, I think it's good for us because it avoided a major war in the Middle East that could very easily escalate to World War III with Russia. We don't want war. I'm America first.
How? Wait, how?
Because, I mean, how much have we already spent in blood and treasure over there? And for what?
Yeah, but wait, hold on. That's not even an answer to the question. That's just a bumper sticker. How is this good for us? How did we avoid a war? I mean, we were not even looking at a war in the Middle East. So what are you saying? It's like extortion? Iran will give you billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and we won't bomb Israel?
No, the point is that they were rearing up for a war. If Iran didn't give up its nuclear weapons, there was going to be a war.
That's factually incorrect. That's been since the nukes have been around, since they've been throwing rocks at each other. More on that when we come back here at the Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow live from D.C. And if you go to michaelsavage.com, while checking out the latest headlines, you will see Dr. Savage's pictures and his thoughts on his trip. In the meantime, we're talking about a few things we have going on. Excuse me. There is the issue of the Iran deal in the discussions with Macron. I do not think that the president has any wiggle room on the Iran deal. Renegotiating it to appease our allies is not an option. Or is it? Not for me. But there's also the travel ban. It's being heard by the Supreme Court today. A big news story. You heard the clip there by Justice Alito, okay? And I'm combining this with activism journalism that's going on. We see it all the time, mostly from CNN and MSNBC. And now we have Jim Acosta. We played the clip before of him basically saying that Trump, his fake news slams on news media are going to get journalists physically hurt. How's about stop making up the news? CNN has been making up news now for 15 months. Actually, 15 months since he's become president, and a year and a half prior to that, trying to bring the man down. Stormy Daniels, Russia collusion, this, that, and the other thing. They have not been able to back up one of their allegations. They even speculate, hoping it'll come true. Mueller's going to be fired. I mean, they're a joke. I mean, when you have the runt of the Cuomo litter as part of your team, and then you have everybody else falls in line and lacking in journalistic ethics with him, well, what more can one say? It's a joke. But their reporting now has become biased. Anything that is positive for the country, whether it's a wall, whether it's a tax cut, or whether it's national security, or in this case, Trump's travel ban, they're against it simply because it's Trump. Do you realize every single Democrat voted against the tax bill? Do you realize that if Obama had put in this travel ban, and which, oh, by the way, the countries on the list, Somalia, Syria, Libya, and Yemen, and Iran are all put on there by Barack Obama. This list was put together by Obama. If Obama had put a travel ban in effect that was exactly the same as the one Trump did in January of 2017, they would have said it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. So here we are, the Supreme Court, 15 months after Donald Trump's first travel ban really set the tone for his presidency, and the first time that the media went against him as president simply because he was doing what he said he would do, it is now a watered-down version in front of the Supreme Court. Now, I'm in favor of the travel ban, but I think the travel ban needs to be thrown out, ripped up, rewritten, tougher than the original, and then put back in play. That's what I say. As I said before, we have enough problems of our own. We have enough nuts. We have enough Nicholas Cruzes running around. We have the waffle killer. I told you this guy's running around naked with an AR-15, excuse me. We need to build a wall on our southern border. We need to make our nation secure, okay? And the religion of Islam, okay, and what it breeds, its offshoot, Muslim fundamentalist terrorists, are a cancer on society in general and especially the American society. Another thing that the media doesn't report on that is a growing problem here in the United States in Muslim communities, honor killings. They don't want to talk about honor killings. People come from these Sharia-loving nations, and instead of assimilating, they want the American freedoms without having to assimilate when their young daughters grow up and they want to be westernized and they like Western music and they like wearing jeans, putting on makeup, doing their hair, dating boys, normal stuff. A lot of them, or I shouldn't say a lot, but there is a percentage, and it has grown, of honor killings here in the United States. And I've actually had leftists tell me it's their culture. You can't question their culture. You wouldn't understand. Oh, I understand. I understand because your daughter wore mascara that you crushed her skull in and you killed her. Yeah, I understand that. It's unbelievable. Now, how can anybody be against securing our nation? It is the first job of any president, the national security of the people in your nation. And the president of the United States, the national security of Americans. That's what it is. So you have to stop people coming in who are, number one, bleeding us dry financially. Number two, starting crime syndicates like MS-13 coming in from Honduras. Did you know that a third of all Hondurans on the whole planet live in the United States? It's incredible. And what happens is terrorism comes here. We saw it with Mateen in Orlando. Okay, he was a lone wolf. But we see MS-13 gangs, which I consider a form of terrorism, coming here, feeding off of our freedoms, taking advantage of our freedoms, and building their crime syndicates. That's what we see. And we see terrorists coming into the country as well. We saw the couple from San Bernardino. Is it a giant cell? No, it was 2 people. But tell them that it's nothing to the 14 people who lost family members. Okay, 14 people were murdered at a Christmas party by these 2 nuts. And man, that woman was ugly as sin, huh? Just her face was a sin. And you have all of this going on, and you have the left in this country say, let everybody in, let everybody in. During the Obama years, we had Obama sneaking in Syrian refugees, not vetting any of them, doing the whole asylum rap. And now we have that caravan that is coming up, has now reached the southern border. People supposedly looking for a new life, right? Well, they got out of Honduras because that's where this one came from. They could have stopped in Mexico. Get asylum there. No, it's a big publicity stunt put on by some leftist group because they want, this is what I truly believe, they want them to have an altercation with the National Guard at the border. That's what I think that this group that organized this caravan really wants. That's not going to happen, thankfully, but they're now seeking asylum. Are they in danger? Seeking asylum is coming from a place where if you go back, you're going to be killed. That's not happening. There's poverty. It's not a nice place to live. America is a better place. But I'm sorry, folks. We cannot just let everybody in. We need to secure our borders. And the wall and the travel ban are just part of securing that border. The caravan, that publicity stunt, they cannot be allowed in. They probably will get in because they're not in Texas. They're not in Arizona. They're going to California, where Jerry Brown didn't even want to cooperate with the Border Patrol, didn't want to cooperate with President Trump and send border agents there. So he'll give them asylum, and then they'll try to paint it as a loss for President Trump. But really, it's a loss for America. Why does the left want to always bring people in here? So I'd like to know from you, will the Supreme Court side with Trump over the travel ban? And if they don't side with him, then they're siding against national security. Also, the Iran deal. He can't waver on that. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes. He has to go into the meeting with Kim Jong-un very strong. Let's get back to the phones, 855-400-SAVAGE. Sal, WVFT, Florida. Welcome to the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for taking my call today, Lou. No, I did the math on this, all that money that Obama gave Iran to appease them. If you would have given every American making less than $30,000 or at the poverty level the money, instead of giving it to Iran, each American in this country would have received a check for close to $30,000. That's blanket. That's everybody, not leaving anybody out that's at the poverty level. Now, what kind of stimulus would that have created in this country if you would have done that? You know?
Well, I see where you're coming from on that, and 30,000 is a good chunk of change. It's a year's salary for a lot of people. I'm of the thought that I don't like giving money to people because I think it takes away incentive, Sal. But your thought is in the right place. Yeah. Whereas that money could have been spent here on education. It could have been spent here on health care. It could have been sent here on making America a better place instead of sending it there. But you know, Sal, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Here's something you might not have caught because you're busy, got your job, your family, your whole 9 yards. As a thank you to the teachers union, after he was elected for their support, Obama gave the teachers union $26 billion. That's just the one union. Now, it was said it was for this, it was for that, but basically it was a payoff for a job well done and their unconditional support for him when he was running for president. $26 billion. So I'm sure if we start peeling back the onion, it's not just the Iran deal, it's paying off all the political cronies who did what he wanted when he wanted it, and the numbers are staggering, Sal. So, yeah, but it seems that our politicians, and not just Obama, he's easy to pick on because he was so feckless, it's our Republicans on the Hill, the Democrats on the Hill. No one seems to have the interest of the American people in mind. I mean, I've been very critical of the Republicans as much as I have the Democrats. I have not seen anything, Sal, have you, that they have done, whether it's national security, whether it's the budget, or whether it's international affairs that benefits the American people? Everything they do either benefits themselves, benefits our allies, or benefits people who shouldn't be here. What do you think?
No, I completely agree with you. And charity starts at home. I mean, the people of this country have been, a lot of the people have been choked out of success in this country. They're working hard, and they deserve a little break in their life. A lot of them I know, a lot of people, look at unemployment. Unemployment's down right now. People are taking jobs that are overqualified. They're taking jobs that they're overqualified for because they want to work. That's the key in this country. People want to work. And when you're giving people that are, people coming to this country not doing it the right way, doing it illegally, and you're giving those people jobs and priority over Americans, people that are here already, I'm not a racist, I'm not a bigot. I want everybody to accomplish what their potential is in our country, but they've got to do it the right way. That's the bottom line. And there's room. The ceiling, sky's the limit here. The sky is the limit.
And I'll tell you, Sal, voting against the travel ban is not in the interest of the American people either. Security starts at home too. We're helping out all these nations around the world with the Iranian deal. We're going to appease the Germans, appease all of these different countries: England, France, Russia, China. How's about appeasing the people who put you into office? Is what I say.
Correct.
All right, Sal, thank you very much for your call. Do appreciate it. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Remember, Dr. Savage will be back here tomorrow, but you can get your fix if you need to see the doctor. Go to michaelsavage.com. Fresh pictures there. Him in the Oval Office with President Trump, a lot more. You could also read his thoughts on his trip, and also some great columns that have been written about Dr. Savage Goes to Washington. You are listening to The Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow live from Washington, D.C. And I'm telling you, I wasn't joking when I said I'm jealous of the pictures of Dr. Savage and his travels around Washington, D.C., especially meeting Donald Trump and being in the Oval Office with him. Cool pictures there at michaelsavage.com and some great articles written by Dr. Savage and about Dr. Savage about him going to Washington, D.C. We've been talking about a lot the Iran deal and what's going to happen with the meeting with Macron. Macron wants the deal to stay. Trump promised us it would be gone. No room for wiggling there. And also we talked about the travel ban and as well which way the Supreme Court is going to fall on that. And, of course, everything that the media does is anti-Trump. We have Jim Acosta, who's dying to be a celebrity, makes all the stories about him, now actually claims that Trump's words and claims of fake news are going to be detrimental to the safety of journalists, that Trump supporters, such as you, listeners to the Savage Nation, might get violent with journalists, although there has been no evidence of this. He still said it nonetheless. The problem with Jim Acosta and April Ryan is like, a female Emmett Kelly. I mean, these people are clowns. And they make these statements and nobody calls them on it. And they lie and it's fake news. And when somebody does call them on it, they don't like it. Okay? Now, no one in the left-wing media is going to do it. But what Jim Acosta leaves out is that there has been no right-winger, no conservative, no Republican, no independent who has expressed or made any attempts of violence towards any journalist. However, on the left, we have Antifa, we have Schumer and Pelosi saying the tax bill and net neutrality will kill people. Shortly thereafter, there was the assassination attempt on Representative Scalise while getting ready for a charity softball game. 3 others were shot that day. Historically, history shows us that violence comes from the left, not from the right. They're not 100% pure. I know they'll throw Timothy McVeigh at you because that's all they have. Modern day, no one wants to talk about Representative Scalise. What's he up to, like his 11th surgery? He just had another one, came through it. It's amazing. It's amazing the hypocrisy. And people like Jim Acosta, all they have is stars in their eyes. We're going to continue on the other side here at the Savage Nation. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate here with you. It's the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate here with you in for Dr. Savage along with Team Savage. He will be back tomorrow, the Dr. Will, live from Washington, D.C. But if you need your Dr. Savage fix, go to michaelsavage.com for all of the latest headlines, and you can see Dr. Savage's pictures and read his thoughts on his trip to D.C. There's also some great pieces there of that. The Washington Times had written a nice piece about Dr. Savage goes to Washington. You can check it all out at michaelsavage.com. Well, there's been a lot going on. We have a lot more to get to, and we encourage you to take part in the conversation at 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. We talked the Iran deal, whether Trump should squelch it or renegotiate it to appease our allies, such as Emmanuel Macron, who was in Washington, D.C. Also, the Supreme Court. How will they side what will they decide, and will they side with President Trump on the travel ban? And, journalism has become a story in and of itself. We talked about the CNN fool, Jim Acosta, who really wants to become part of the story and says that Trump's rhetoric and saying the words fake news is putting journalists' safety at risk and that Trump supporters might harm a journalist. Well, there's not even one a bit of evidence or an example to back that up. But I will tell you this. According to the Associated Press, media watchdog Reporters Without Borders say hostility towards journalists is growing worldwide, and it's often encouraged by political leaders, even in Democratic countries. Now, the group says many Democratic elected leaders no longer see the media as part of democracy's essential underpinning. They single out, of course, Donald Trump for his media bashing, and it also notes the recent killings of reporters in in the EU members, Slovakia and Malta. Okay, so reporters around the world, okay, hatred of them is on the rise. We have, sadly, reporters are killed in Slovakia and Malta. Yet they want to cite Donald Trump. No reporters have been attacked in the United States. No reporters, obviously, have been killed if they haven't been attacked. Yet they cite him. They don't cite the rhetoric of Maduro in Venezuela. They don't cite the rhetoric of Duterte in the Philippines. They don't cite Kim Jong-un. They don't cite Assad gassing his own people, Putin poisoning journalists. They don't cite any of this stuff. They cite murders of reporters in Slovakia and Malta, and then use Donald Trump for media bashing. And whenever they cite Donald Trump with the media bashing, they always leave out the part that the media has incessantly lied about the man, endlessly, dragging his family into it, making fun of his wife, making fun of his kid, making fun of him. Okay, he's fair game. He is the president of the United States, but lying about corruption, lying about the whole Russian dossier going on 15 months now, lying about policy shifts. Everything that they continuously go after him about is a lie. They want everything to be the smoking gun, and you know what? It's just not sticking. It just doesn't work. We have reporters on the White House press corps who hate Donald Trump so much, quite frankly, they should be reassigned. Of course, I'm not saying they should be fired because I work in media and I don't want to see anybody lose their job. But people like Jim Acosta, people like April Ryan, they give interviews and they say the most ridiculous things. Case in point, Clinton Jim, let's play. This is April Ryan. She's another one like Jim Acosta, wants to be a celebrity. She wants to be the story. She's always crying racism anytime somebody doesn't agree with her. Boo hoo hoo, small violin, tear tear. This is April Ryan.
Fake news by the president saying this, it's not just a simple or cute little statement for some. This has tentacles that it's reaching overseas. You know, I've heard from European leaders who are saying it could really destabilize democracies. And they are very concerned about this fake news issue. Think about it. When you are in a country and your citizenry thinks that you're fake, thinks that what the news is saying is fake, there could be anarchy some kind of way. And it causes a destabilization of democracies. There's tentacles to what this president is saying.
Poppycock, Boulder Dash, BS, whatever you want to call it. I have heard from European leaders. Who? Did you hear from Emmanuel Macron? Because let me tell you something. He's having a bromance with Donald Trump right now like we have never seen. So who did you speak to? The tentacles of saying fake news? Especially when it is fake news. This is how low in the gutter the quality of journalism, alleged journalism, that April Ryan practices. Do you remember Christmas time? Or was it Thanksgiving time? The holidays. She accused White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders of faking a pecan pie. This is how petty these people are. If you remember, go back. I mean, there's been so much from Trump to Trump gets 2 scoops of ice cream, everybody else gets 1. Trump drinks Diet Coke, everybody else gets water. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a nice Southern gal, and she posted a picture, I don't know if it was Instagram or Twitter, but some social media, of a pecan pie that she had baked for her family. Okay, that's it. Innocent enough. Holiday times, easing towards the end of the year. White House press secretary. I don't think we've ever had a White House press secretary who bakes. Here's my pecan pie. Okay, Southern tradition. All right, Southern women and their cooking. And April Ryan, whose voice you just heard there, criticizes her, saying it's a fake. It's like a stock photo. It's like taking from a recipe book. I mean, and nobody questions her. Like, no one calls her a petty little, you know. It's just, it's accepted that this, well, maybe Sarah Huckabee Sanders didn't make her pie. So what does Sarah Huckabee Sanders do? She has to make pies now for the whole White House press corps. It's lunacy. And she did. And it looked exactly like the picture. And to her credit, Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a lot of class because she didn't get angry about it. She just said something like, don't question a Southern woman and her cooking or something like that, and then made a few pies for the White House press corps. And April Ryan was forced to eat crow and pie. She should have got a pie in the face is what she should have gotten. And to say that Trump's comment of fake news, to me, shows what always is apparent here that no one wants to talk about is the intolerance of the left. Okay, when April Ryan says, here's the thing, fake news by the president saying this, it's not just a simple, cute little statement. This has tentacles that have reached overseas. Where are the tentacles? Where are the negative aspects? Maybe they've picked up the phrase there. Maybe honest people are tired of journalists, tired of politicians lying, have picked up the phrase fake news. But where are the negative tentacles? Oh, is it in this report by the Reporters Without Borders? Are the murders of reporters, the deaths of reporters in Slovakia and Malta, are you going to attribute to Trump saying fake news? So she doesn't back up that with any examples. She doesn't back up any of the alleged European leaders that she has talked to. They just make it up. And I'm calling you, Jim Acosta, on it. I'm calling you, April Ryan, on it. You are a bold-faced liar. You, April Ryan, are a liar. And I'm not calling you a liar because of the color of your skin. Based on just that 32-second clip that we just played, I can find 3 lies within there. And gosh only knows if I read the garbage that you write every day while trying to make a name for yourself and trying to be the center of the story. I wonder what it must be like being in the same room with Jim Acosta and April Ryan. I wonder if there's like enough oxygen left for people like John Roberts from Fox News and Kevin Corke and others. I wonder. Maybe that's why sometimes the room's not full. People have to go outside and get some air because it's all being sucked up by April Ryan and Jim Acosta. Please, these people are pathetic. They are not journalists. They are advocates. That is all that they are. It's a joke. The media business has become a joke. The news is dead because right now everybody's just practicing in activism journalism. So we have that up there. If you'd like to comment, it's 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. There's also the issue of the basic income. The Democrats have come out with their Halloween bag. You know, everybody's talking. Rahm Emanuel came out the other day and said, stop with the impeachment talk. It's not helping. A county supervisor who's a Democrat in a county in Ohio, I forget the name, came out and said, enough with the Russia dossier talk. It's not helping. It's going nowhere. And you look at all of this. The Democrats were going to run on all of that stuff in 2018. They don't have anything to run on. But now there's a glimmer of light coming out where they are offering reparations, income handouts, guaranteed jobs, and a lot of other pet projects, Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders came out with his latest scam. Remember his scam in 2016, tuition for all? Well, now he's coming out with jobs for all. And this on the heels of Finland saying that, well, their basic income experiment, it was supposed to run till the end of this year, and it will, but they're not funding it again. It has failed. The Finnish government has decided not to expand the limited trial in just giving people money for nothing. But on the left, we have Robert Reich. And I'll tell you what, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will hear from Robert Reich, former member of the Clinton crime family of Arkansas, where he stands on universal basic income. And I'd like to know also where you, the listeners to the Savage Nation, where you stand on the issue of basic guaranteed. Should there be a basic guaranteed income? It failed in Finland, yet the Democrats are coming out and their picture for 2016 and what they're offering people, reparations, guaranteed jobs for all, and income handouts. What do you think of that? 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate here with you. This is the Savage. Womp, womp, womp. There's Robert Reich. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage, who will return tomorrow. He'll be broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. In the meantime, check out his pictures and the latest headlines on michaelsavage.com. That is Robert Reich. He was part of the Clinton administration. He's about 4'1" in heels, and his lies go about 12'1" in flat feet. Talking about this basic guaranteed income, socialism, for lack of a better word, being a good thing, that it's catching on. Where? Where does he live? Is he in the Clinton bubble? Because that's the only place where it exists. As mentioned, Finland's basic income trial has fallen flat. They were given 2,000 unemployed Finns receiving a flat monthly payment of about $685 in American money as basic income. And now, well, they see it's not working. Giving people money takes away their incentive to do better things in their life. They just tend to sit on their laurels. Now, granted, $685 is not a lot of money. It's not going to get you very far. It's not even going to pay the rent. But it is free money. Free money makes people lazy, in my humble opinion. So that's just a bunch of poppycock balderdash when these people talk about it. They think it is something that's going to resonate with people, okay? The only money that's going to resonate with people to get it for free is winning the lottery, okay? That's a totally different mindset. When people are given money from the government, they tend to stop. They stop functioning. They stop moving. And the Democrats are offering up a bunch of free stuff, as I said before the break. Free tuition, minimum wage hikes, Medicare for all, reparations, income handouts, guaranteed jobs by Bernie Sanders. Of course, Bernie can't figure out who's going to pay for it and how. And my question to you is, this is the politics of a bygone era. You know, are Americans tired of hearing politicians come up with the same old, we're going to give you stuff during an election year? And do you think there should be a basic income? 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. I don't think there should be a basic income, and I think that the Democratic Party has really gone astray here in the fact that they just don't get it. They don't get what people want. People don't want free things. Free things are nice, but they just want to be able to pay their bills on their own. That's all it is, and that's all it's ever going to be. So, which shifts us now to, we have millennials talking about money. They're blaming boomers for ruining their lives, okay? Big college loans, inheriting 2 wars, facing an uncertain future at work. A majority of millennials say baby boomers have made things worse for them. And according to an Axios SurveyMonkey poll, many other boomers agree. Now, why does this matter? Well, you got the generation divide could turn into a political divide as generations compete for limited tax dollars. So there are many boomers out there in the Savage Nation. Are millennials correct to blame boomers for ruining their financial life? More on this when we come back to the Savage Nation. 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate here with you on the Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. But the term fake news is something that's going to cause people to be violent. No, Nancy Pelosi, the one who said that the tax bill and net neutrality would kill people, is now saying you pray in church, yet you prey on people. Oh, boy. Millennials blame baby boomers for ruining their lives. Robert Reich says a basic income is something good, and it's actually catching on. Are millennials right? They've got inherited 2 wars, big college loans, tax money that's not going to be there when they get there. A poll found 51% of millennials 18 to 34 blame boomers for making things worse financially for their generation. Just 13% said things had improved. Well, Generation X wasn't pleased with the boomers either. and they say 30% of policies created by their generation had made things worse. So should there be a basic income, and are millennials correct? Have boomers ruined things for them financially in the future? Let's get to the phones. James, KSFO, San Francisco. You're on the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
Well, that was quick. It's nice talking to you again, Lou. And yeah, you know, the thing is, the boomers are the most negligent generation in probably the past 500 years. It's not just the crippling debt. It's not just the interventionism in the Middle East that our political leaders have gotten us into. It's also the ideology that has come out of the Frankfurt School, promulgated by these people, Herbert Marcuse, Adorno, Horkheimer, that taught the baby boomer generation in California and led the way for the whole hippie movement. I mean, we've been left with not just, 10% of the national debt is college loans, but we've been left with a vanishing nation itself, and it's even worse in Europe. There was actually a book written called Generation Identity by a guy named Marcus Villinger, and it's a declaration of war on what the French call the 68ers. It's not just an American problem.
Well, you think back to when the hippies basically came into power. You were looking at the 1990s. The hippies came into power in the form of Bill Clinton, Robert Reich, and the rest, and Bernie Sanders and alike. And their system of socialism, or everything being socialized, has failed. I cited, you play a sound, you can't make this up. You play a sound bite of Robert Reich saying a basic income is something that's catching on, when Finland on the same day or the same week is getting rid of their basic income. And then you have millennials saying there's not going to be any money in the future, and it is the Robert Reiches and people of his generation who have how could you say, irresponsibly just frittered away the money, James.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. But, in the Axios article, it says that it's going to be the millennials quibbling against the boomers to try and scarf up all of this money. The problem is there ain't going to be any money there. Unless we fix our debt problem, our country is going to go the way of Weimar Germany. There's no way around. Well said.
Well said. Very much. Everybody will be carrying wheelbarrows full of cash to go buy a loaf of bread. That was always the excuse they gave us in school. James, always well to talk to you at KSFO. Let's go to Houston, KPRC. Morgan, you are on the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Howdy.
What's
I mean, the idea... So here's the thing. The idea of the guaranteed income was actually put forward by Milton Friedman, and he was a Nobel Prize-winning free market economist and about as far away from a socialist as you could get. But I think we need to be careful not to make a straw man out of this and to kind of take it seriously. The only way guaranteed basic income is possible is if you delete the welfare state first.
Oh,
and
okay.
And the thing that the welfare state does that a guaranteed income doesn't do is that if you get off of welfare and start working at a job, your net income goes down. So we have de-incentivized people to work. Whereas in my understanding of Milton Friedman's policy that he put forward for a guaranteed basic income, you have to work to get it. But let's say, so in addition to the welfare state being deleted, you would also have to delete minimum wage laws. So if you're, say, mopping a floor for $5 an hour, you get supplemented to whatever brings you to, like, say you make $16,000 a year, the universal basic income pays the gap between 16 and 20 or 16 and 18, whatever the, poverty.
Yeah, but Morgan, let me ask you this. What then is the difference between basic income and welfare? Because I remember growing up in New York City, people who were on welfare, it was that's not supposed to be their job. It's supposed to be giving somebody a hand up while they were down in a valley in their life. And actually, back in the old days, you don't have to do this anymore, that when you got back on your feet, you were supposed to pay back what welfare gave you. That's a long bygone the deal there, but that's the way it used to be. It was just supposed to help you get back on your feet, not supposed to be your way of earning a living.
Well, and I understand, and that's actually why it would be preferable to our current welfare state, because like I said, under the current welfare state, you get so many benefits. If you monetize all those benefits and then you get off of those benefits and start working, you actually earn less. Whereas,
well, then they start giving you more money the more babies you pump out with welfare.
Yeah, but the guaranteed income doesn't have anything that would delete that. There would be no incentive to have more children, for one, which I think would be a good thing.
Then where's the incentive to go back to work then, Morgan?
Well, like I said, from what I understand of Milton Friedman, now I'm talking about Milton Friedman, not this Robert Rice guy, but
right.
Milton Friedman, you can't get it unless you work. It's an income. It's for people of sound mind and body who are working but still below the poverty.
So basically a subsidy.
Yeah, so we just cover the gap between what you're currently making and what we consider the poverty line.
All right. I still think it takes away incentive. I'm with you on that. But Morgan, KPRC, I got to run, but thank you very much for your call. Let's go to Colorado, KVOR. Timothy, welcome to the Savage Nation. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. I just wanted to say that I believe it is a rumor if you were to say, that people would stop working just because they're getting a basic income now. Because I wouldn't stop working, and if you go out there to your neighbors and ask them, I bet 95% would say, I would still go to work, and I'll tell you why. I'm from Germany. Well, I was born in Arizona, but I was raised in Germany. My family's military. So over there in Reichenbach, the very, very small town, we're trying that with the basic income. And the cool thing is that now people are even more healthier because they're less stressed, because all of a sudden they can worry about what their job actually is going to be.
I'd have to see numbers on that. I mean, I'm citing you here in Finland. They're ixnaying it. I don't know any place where this works. And I never said people won't go to work. I said it takes away the incentive depending on how much you're getting. Finland, $685 American isn't going to pay the rent. But look at what welfare. Welfare is like a basic income, and it takes away people's incentive to get up and go to work.
I have never heard of that. Sorry.
Come on. You got to get into the real world, Timothy. But thank you for your call. Do appreciate it. Let's go to Mike, WSBA, Pennsylvania, Dr. Savage's affiliate there. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you today?
Doing okay. How can we help you?
Well, the thoughts here is about the millennials blaming the baby boom generation. And my thoughts on this is, economy is everything. And I have a thought that the millennials haven't even seen a boom in economy yet in their lifetime, so they don't know the good from the bad. But to make the point, government's job is to help the economy stay afloat and do things to help people have jobs, be put to work, etc. And to put the blame on a generation, it really comes down to those people in power that have made the projects of what they are in this country.
Well, Mike, I got to disagree with you. I don't think government's job is to keep the economy afloat. Quite the opposite. Government's job is to basically let the private sector, let capitalism, let entrepreneurs be the driving force of the economy, okay? And then they can fine-tune it, whether you have to regulate something, not too many regulations, but things like that. It should not be because government can't keep itself afloat. It should not have anything to do with the economy. Anything the government touches pertaining to the economy gets ruined. So let private industry, let capitalism be like the laws of the jungle. Only the strong survive. And what if they have to, do something here and there to tweak it? Fine. But government, if that's the driving force of your engine, you're going to be on the side of the road a lot.
Well, I agree with everything that you just said. What I'm trying to explain, though, is they do have a purpose in the idea of how money is spent that comes in from the government back out into the system. And if you look at the government as a whole, it's failed the process. Overspending, too much taxation.
Yeah. Because they're not spending their money; they're spending your money and my money.
Correct. I understand. I've been independent for 20 years of my life. I write my own checks, so I totally understand where you're coming from.
So you know better. Mike, I got to run, but thank you very much. If you're holding, please continue to hold. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. It's the Savage Nation. My name is Lou Pate. Dr. Savage will be back tomorrow live from D.C. In the meantime, go to michaelsavage.com, get the latest headlines, and check out Dr. Savage's pictures and thoughts on his trip. You are listening to The Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate here with you along with Team Savage. The good doctor will be back tomorrow live from D.C. sharing his experiences there at the White House, Emmanuel Macron, and so much. You're definitely going to want to be here on the Savage Nation. But if you can't wait, go to michaelsavage.com and check out his pictures. The doctor has posted pictures there as well as his thoughts. There's been some cool stuff there. Millennials are blaming boomers for ruining their future, for ruining their lives. Is it correct? I'd say boomers are pretty selfish, I got to tell you. Probably the most selfish of all the generations. I'm glad I'm not one. Steve, WGOW, Tennessee, where do you stand on this?
Hey, Lou, Steve. I agree with totally with you on that. Generation X, that's where I come from. And, you know, we've worked really hard, Generation X. I'm a hard worker. I'm in an industry where I work with millennials. And for the millennials to get where they are, what I do in my industry is very impressive. And I think the millennials are figuring out what's going on. Because, you know, we in the Generation X wanted to make it better. If you look, for example, like Paul Ryan is the Generation X. What's he doing? He's getting out of Congress. Now, who knows what he's going to do? He might have other political aspirations. I don't know. But to me, we've got those baby boomers who are really running Congress, and they're elitists, and all they're doing is making it worse. They've got the media on their side, and they're fooling everybody. And the millennials see all this because they really get into the technology side of things. Of course, Generation X, we're kind of there, but kind of not. We've seen both angles. So I do blame the baby boomers a lot. Thank God that I grew up and I had to work for everything I had.
Right. All right. No, hey, listen, you make a good case. And the technology, I think, although they're whiners, millennials are definitely informed. Steve, I want to get everybody in here, but thank you for calling for WGOW in Tennessee. Anthony in KUGN in Oregon, welcome to the Savage Nation with Lou Pate. How are you?
Good afternoon, Luke. I just wanted to, I almost kind of agree with the millennials. You know, the baby boomers, they brought in record numbers of divorces. They voted themselves in a prescription plan that has practically broke our Medicare problems out here. They put their parents in retirement homes. They put their inheritance in Corvettes and hot tubs. I've just seen a whole bunch of selfishness from these baby boomers. I'm a child from a boomer, and just from what I've seen from this generation is just hurting the millennials and hurting everyone else in this country.
And it seems that they've put not just in Corvettes, but they've also put the burden of not enough tax dollars on the backs of the millennials. It's interesting, Anthony, that the children of the greatest generation, the World War II generation, are kind of spoiled brats in a sense, if you will. It's all about them all of the time. I mean, it is what it is. There's going to be this issue as generations compete for limited tax dollars. Millennials are seeking government help as automation takes hold, and boomers insisting on promised levels of Social Security and Medicare, and you can't have it all.
No, I agree with you. The price of prescription drugs since the government took over covering for these boomers as they retire is just ridiculous.
Now, just quickly, why I have you here, Anthony, I see a lot of these boomers in Congress and in the Senate, but it's where are you on term limits? When I hear guys say, I've been in the Senate for 42 years, I've been in Congress for 42 years, people like Patrick Leahy, it aggravates me. We need term limits. It's not that we need young blood. We constantly need new blood.
Oh, I agree. We need the Convention of the States to just come out here and bring term limits for all these guys. I think the House of Representatives should be like jury duty. They pick people for a certain amount of term, and once they're done, they're gone. No sense paying all this retirement benefits for these people. It's ridiculous.
And you're up there in Oregon, very left-leaning up there. That's got to affect everything. But, hey, Anthony, I got to run. Thank you very much. Hey, special thanks to Dr. Savage for having me. A super thanks to producers Jim and Clint. Best in the business. I always say that on Twitter. Do appreciate your help. Their hard work makes the show better, folks. Trust me on that. Lou Pate here with you. Dr. Savage will be back tomorrow live from D.C. It's the Savage Nation.
Savage.